Welcome to And Why Not podcast with Andy and Dave, two mates happy to talk about anything and everything.
This is not a test. I don't know why I did
One,
that.
two, one, two, one, two.
One, two.
Cheers, brother.
Welcome. Podcast 1.
Podcast 1.
Holy
This
shit.
is us.
Hey.
Where do we go?
Wherever you want to go.
Where do we start?
Start wherever you want to start.
Well, how controversial do you want to start? Do you want to start with transgender?
Transgender. Let's do it.
I mean, if we're going to go deep, let's go deep.
Ooh, bad choice of words.
No, not really. Depends on what you associate it with as
Not a cat. Transgender.
a cat.
Furry. I'm a furry. I identify as a furry. Do you know?
Oh, so we've both got beards, so we're both going to be cats.
You know, I found out in schools in America, if you identify as a furry, they'll put kitty litter down for you.
You actually have your own tray?
Yeah.
So you have your name on your tray.
You have a tray and the
So
kitty
like
litter.
Fluffy the kitty.
Yeah, and identify. They were doing it in Australia. Someone was taking dumps in the bush, and then they had to put down kitty litter tray in the toilets. Yeah, is that too far or what?
Well, why would you feel the need to go and have a dump in the bush? Like,
At school.
I know, but okay, maybe I'm old, maybe just too Gen Xy here, but it's like it doesn't make sense to me.
No,
Like,
it doesn't.
like
How are you going to ride on the stalls? You know, like in someone such and such eats dick or something. How are you going to ride that? If you're in the bush, you're going to ride it on the leaf. No one's going to know.
well, use a good gum leaf to wipe your bum with anyway.
Yeah, true.
I mean,
That's not
you
true.
you don't grab it to blow, get skippy,
Keep your odds. I could never do that. I got no idea. The old transgender. I guess I had the question for you that I raised with you the other day.
Yeah.
If you're transgender and you commit a crime, how are you punished for sentencing? So, the old scenario, you drink driving accidentally, you're not meant to be over the limit, you don't think you are, but you do. You hit someone, kill someone. Are you tried as a male or female? And if you're convicted, do you go to a male, female prison?
Well, the bigger question is, at what point do you become a male or a female if you're cross-gendering? Like, is it as soon as you think that you are, like, say if you're a man and you want to cross-gender to a female, right? Let's use that scenario, right? So if you start thinking that you're a female, is that now are you a female without actually having like hormone replacement?
I guess to you it is, but to the letter of the law it isn't.
That's right. Okay, so this is where, if we're going to go down this line, all right,
Controversial.
the government needs to step in and go, at what point do they draw a line that you are now changing to a female? Is it?
Have they done that yet?
I
Like,
don't
we
know.
obviously with the same-sex marriage that got voted in, great,
Yeah.
a few years ago, fantastic thing
Yeah.
they did. But the whole transgender thing, has that actually got a line in the sand or not? I don't know enough about it. Maybe it's something I need to research and have a look at.
Okay, so can they?
Or we can talk to
or
someone.
can they just apply?
Is it like like you
look-
change your name for
Yeah,
getting married and depot, that old
That's right.
thing? I don't know if they still use it.
that's it.
So
So
age.
is it as soon as you finally make the decision, right, and you go and get your birth certificate changed,
Mhm.
right? Now pardon me, are you now then classed as a female, even though you aren't taking hormone replacement,
Tight
or
lines, isn't it?
or you haven't started growing breasts, or you haven't had augmentation yet?
It's interesting, isn't it?
So
See, my personal thoughts are different to what when you raise something like that, it makes me think differently because you got there's so much involved in it, isn't it?
oh, well and truly.
Like you can't just chop it off, nip and tuck, and that's it. Like there's more to it than that.
Oh, there's well and truly more to it.
An old scenario: what's a woman? What's a man? Everyone's opinion is
Well,
different.
You're missing a couple of ribs, you're a female. Men got more ribs. We aren't flexible.
Chromosomes.
There you go.
That's the science
okay,
of
so-
it.
so look at
is
this-
it the science define it, or is it how we see it
Well,
individually?
we can look at the old Donald Trump ways, like
Ooh, Trump.
that's that's a different scenario. We won't talk about him today. But anyone that thinks that is like, okay, so if you die and you put yourself in the ground, and they dig you up 50 years later, your skeleton's going to say male or female.
Exactly right.
It doesn't matter what you identify as.
100%. Someone's
Right.
going to look at you and go, oh, you identify this. They're not going to look at that, are they? Like,
But
they'll look at the headstone and go, whatever name.
yeah.
But then they'll like, oh, that was a male.
Okay. So now, with the way science is going, they could probably do DNA testing on the bones and go, hang on, there's chromosomes and there's parts of this bone that are probably more female, but it's a male body or male
With
skeleton.
the HRT sort of stuff.
That's it.
Dig its embed itself, I guess. Not
Yeah.
embed itself in.
Well, that just completely
the
blows the
structure.
mind too, doesn't it?
Now you got me thinking. But it's
Do you want to go back to the cat?
No, definitely not. I'm not a furry. I still find that interesting, but anyway, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, but see, that's the biggest thing. It's like, where do you draw that line? So if they commit the murder and they go to trial and they are committed and they're going to go to jail, is there a point on where you associate as a male or female? Okay, now let's change that. Let's change that around. If you're a female that wants to become a male, and the same thing happens, is that now male go to a male jail and does the opposite happen thing? A male that cross-genders to a female goes to a female jail.
And in that scenario, like if you're like human beings as we are, females are smaller in stature as a general.
Yeah.
Someone that's 5'6", about 60 kilos, transgenders from a female to male, then goes to a male prison. It's not going to look good, is it?
No.
Like that's
'Cause
not and vice versa. 100 kilo, 6'2" female male that's now a female going to a women's prison that hasn't necessarily had the augmentation or any bits done that's a scary scenario.
Correct. On
for
both
anyone
cases.
it's just like
Okay, so I can't remember what his name is now. Skateboarder. American skateboarder. Was a female.
I've heard, but I don't know.
Oh, well, I
enough
remember
about
watching it on, I can't remember what platform it was. I think it was YouTube, about how I'll say he now, how he was selected for the Olympics, but he was selected for the female Olympics. At this stage, he had already started doing all the, all the drugs and everything else to change over to a man. So he got selected, and he eventually ended up pulling out because basically he felt uncomfortable. He said he didn't want to compete against.
Yeah, I get that.
You know,
I'd struggle.
he didn't say that he was any better than them.
No, but yeah, just the whole thought of it.
Exactly right.
Yeah, it's interesting, that whole sports thing. There's clear lines that the male physique is bigger and stronger, and no matter amount of hormone replacement, whatever you do, there's muscle memory and there's size and there's mass. And that'll always outdo the female competitors in that sport.
Correct.
Like I remember seeing there's a bloke, I'm sure it's in the US, I know UK, that he's 130 kilo, big unit, 6 foot something or other, did everything, done everything without the operation, but doing the hormone replacement, doing everything possible, the testosterone, lowering that and the estrogen sort of levels, but playing female rugby. He's just destroying people. Like he's literally running over the top of them. Like that's not safe, surely. Like,
No.
And as a female playing that sport, surely you'd want to, hang on, time out. No, this isn't right.
We want an even playing field.
And that's not an even playing field. If
No.
you're twice the size,
No.
fine, the testosterone's only a small part of it. But that muscle memory, the mass, the size, all that, and he'd been playing rugby at a decent level for many, many years. So not only have you got the skill of how to hit and how to run and
for sure.
all this sort of stuff. And women's rugby isn't as prevalent in schools, so they've got to start later, so they don't have the skill and the mindset to necessarily deal with someone that's been doing it for 20 years.
Okay, so New South Wales, I touched on this a little bit. New South Wales just passed a law on the.
Bloody cockroaches.
You're from New South Wales.
It's previous life.
Yeah, same here. So was I.
Previous life.
Say both of us.
Previous life.
I know. So they've just now passed a law where in schools was it not schools? It's you can't have the drug now to start transitioning across,
Okay.
right? Until you get to a certain age.
Yeah,
Now,
the age
now
parts are different.
that's what we need to do our homework on.
Yeah.
Because all fine and dandy when you're 10 years old, but then males and females start to separate because of hormones.
Yeah.
Right? Puberty starts to just separate us. Great
Well,
divides.
Females quicker than males.
Oh, 100%. And they'll tell you about it too.
They're far more mature.
They'll tell you about it too.
Yeah.
They're proud about that. But anyway, that's
smarter
for a
now.
different episode.
Yep, they're more mature. It's all good. Yep. You win.
But so if they're going to stop doing that, right, but let them do it later on in life, they've already gone through puberty as a male, so they're already going to have all those genetics and everything else and testosterone to be bigger, stronger, and all the rest of the stuff. If they had that when they were 10 and then transitioned at 10 before and then changing all those hormones, would that be an even playing field, or is it genetics?
Or is it human cruelty to do that at someone at 10 years of age?
Well, that's the decision they wanted to make. So
Human
this
rights.
is what it comes down to. It's their decision. It's what they want to do with their life.
At 10.
So at 10 years old.
You don't know. Mate, at 10, I didn't know what I wanted to do the next 2 minutes.
Oh, mate. Picked my nose and picked my ass and ran around the fucking backyard.
Pretty much. Kicking a footy
That's it.
with my brother or throwing a ball.
Throwing a ball against the fence and hitting it back like Don Bradman.
That's the whole thing, like with that. You can train. I don't care what you do. You trans all you want. Turn into an alien doesn't bother me. But at what point and the age, I'm not in that position. I'm male. This is me. This is all I've been. I get that mindset might be different and you're questioning things and you don't feel right in your body. All that, I completely understand that.
Yeah.
I don't empathise, but I understand it, I guess, enough
Yeah.
to warrant have an opinion and talk about it.
Yeah.
But sure, I just go through my life. I didn't know what I wanted at 10, 12, 14, 15, 16.
How old are you now?
Too old.
And you still don't know what you want
No,
to do.
it's just like, I don't understand how you could believe that you're making a direct decision about the 80% rest of your life. Like, that's just,
Okay, so that's what New South Wales is concerned about, is basically they're hearing it from all the social media. It's in obviously on the news and
there's
everything
the
else.
problem right there.
And they're now thinking that they are now something different. Okay, everyone's different, don't get me wrong, right? Different's good, right? But again, is it something they want, or is it something that they...
A bit of brainwashing, you think?
Yeah,
Or
like, I
a
don't
bit of
know, like-
force-fed?
Exactly right. I mean, because we can get... Okay, so let's go back to, say, our era, right? So before we had cross-gender, even there was cross-gender.
It was still there.
It was more homosexuality.
Yeah.
Right? You either knew that you were or you weren't.
There's no in-betweens.
Exactly right. So obviously cross-gender is the same thing. Because I do know homosexual men that did drag only because they liked dressing up as women, didn't want to be a woman.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's a whole separate thing, isn't it? That's
Correct.
There's a lot more, maybe, I don't know, if I'm not going to get scientific on, say, estrogen levels and testosterone levels could be different. I don't know enough about that. And that, I'm sure there's someone done a study about that. But, yeah, heaps of men. Probably every bloke has put on some sort of lipstick and for a night out, had a laugh and done something like that.
What, just once?
Only on the blue moons.
Was that once every 3 months?
The blue dress comes out and the heels come out. No, but like everyone's done it, and women have done it the other way
Of course.
with fashion and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not a mainstream thing, so no one really says anything about it. But it doesn't mean you want to change. So at what point in your life? And I guess we need to speak to people. We both know people that have
Oh, well and truly.
trans and that sort of stuff. So we need to find out at what point. I think at every life, it's a major turning point. It's clearly a major turning point. So I would assume that that person would remember that moment. Maybe not the specific moment, but there might be a clarity of mind around it.
Correct.
That just said, yeah, this is what I want. This is where I need to be, and this is who I want to be. So they make that decision to go from there. And I don't think you can make that at 10 years of age. That's fucking ridiculous.
This is true. Anyway, so now we come to the conclusion. That's what we're going to do. Let's end it here now. Right? We'll get back to this in the way of like, let's get in contact with it. We'll contact people that we know. We'll get them in and we'll sit down and have a chat.
We can even give them this file
Yeah.
to have a listen to see where we're coming at.
Yeah.
Give them a heads up. So
Yeah.
I'm
So we'll
off
leave
for
it at that.
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll move on from there. All right, done.
Pause it.
The best way to catch Andy and Dave is through the socials on Instagram and Facebook. Just punch in and Why Not Podcast.
So this podcast, we are now drinking the Mountain Culture 500. Nipa.
Their 500th beer.
500th beer. Wow.
It seems like 2 years, but
Wow, Mountain Culture. All right.
yummy, yummy. It is amazing.
Oh, guess what I seen the other day?
What?
Driving along in my truck, heading south, and I seen a tradie.
I'm sure you've seen a few of those.
Oh, you always see
on the
them
drive.
all the time. So literally, plumber. All his truck was all basically like a gunmetal grey,
Nice.
right? So all decked out.
Was it a 79 series?
Oh, I don't know.
Fucking
Just a four-wheel drive.
every tradie's got one. I've got to have one of those or a Ranger. Yep, go on.
Yeah, anyway.
Sorry.
Anyway,
Cut you off there.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's a ute.
Yeah, that's it. It's all decked out. He's a tradie. So it's all been written off for tax. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. So it's got all the bells and whistles.
Yep.
So anyway, so it's all gunmetal grey, which are pretty standard, or black, or whatever they are, except for one little patch is orange. But his writing on the side of it, in white, says plum, and then the little orange part says hub. So it's
sounds suspicious.
Plum Hub. Is that like Pornhub? It was the
wouldn't-
same colour.
I wouldn't know
usually
what
looked at
Pornhub
it.
is.
Get out. We all know it.
I think
We-
everyone
we
knows
don't
what
visit
it.
it.
Is. Everyone knows what it is.
Right. So literally it was.
So he's doing the cashing in on what everyone knows.
Exactly right. It's like fake taxi. Everyone knows, you go there and you can look at fake taxi. Anyway, maybe I've gone too far. So yeah, so I thought now that's a good thing for a plumber because obviously he's looking at plumbing, block pipes. He's got to deal with shit every day. Is that close to like what happens on Pornhub?
Pretty much.
There you go.
An old backdoor betting.
So as I was looking at that, something sprang to mind. Now
Oh, God,
you're
this
probably
is dangerous.
well, yeah, especially when my mind starts thinking while I'm driving. I
While
should be
you're driving.
concentrating on the road, not worried about what's going through my brain.
Exactly. Isn't
So-
it every 7 seconds looking for mirrors and all that sort of stuff? Yeah, go.
7 seconds. I've got ADHD, mate. It's every fucking
Every 2
5
seconds.
So it got me thinking about a certain brewery that made a beer, and it was Gabs. And they used to make them for Gabs every year.
I know where you're going with this.
Okay. So they brought out a beer for, I think it was 2023 Gabs. I think it was.
Yeah, it's probably about there.
Yeah.
22, 23.
Right, so they brought a beer out. Now, they'd only ever done Brisbane. They'd never done Sydney. They'd never done Melbourne and everything else. So this year they decided they were going to leash out and they were going to do Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane.
Do the roadshow.
That's it.
Eastern
So they
Seaboard Roadshow.
brewed this beer and I can't remember the name of it.
I do.
What was
It's
it?
called Barely Legal.
Ah, that's it. That's it. Barely legal. That's right. Because what they did was the decal was basically the same colours as the Pornhub colours. But it
Black
was
and orange, like the plumber. Hub one,
like the
so-
plumber. All right. So exactly the same. All right. But they didn't mention anything about Pornhub or anything else. It was just the colours. And it was called Barely Legal.
There's a
And that-
connotation to that, which is in Australia anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose there is in the US, I guess. Got to be. Anyway,
Yeah. So, and it was, I remember it was 18.1% alcohol.
which is barely legal.
Which, well, 18.1% alcohol. Jesus Christ. That's huge.
It kind of sounds nice.
Oh, mate. I'll tell you now.
It's a session beer.
When we get, when Every beer's a session beer.
That's just it, exactly.
It's not until you hit whiskey or hard liquor,
Yeah,
then it becomes non-sessionable.
Then it's not good.
But I'll go back to that later on. But so the premise of the beer was, their thinking was it was barely legal, right? 18.1%. Now, liquor licensing didn't have an issue with that because they followed all the liquor licensing rules and everything else.
Which they do to release the beer anyway.
Exactly
You've
right.
got to do all
Right.
tick all the
Now,
boxes.
they could only sell 300 mils at a time, one only, ever. Right? So it wasn't about getting intoxicated or anything else.
No, this is just an experimental
Exactly right.
one-off
Exactly
recognition for the Gabs.
And now for Gabs is all about putting it way out there
It's
and
artesian,
having fun.
It's almost artesian, isn't it? Like,
Exactly
you
right.
just
Yeah, it's about having fun.
mix it up.
That's it. Bring something weird and wacky. Like, okay, so the year before that, they actually brought out the sour beer that had 3 layers of colour. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about just putting stuff out there.
A lot of those sours, like the Fairy Floss sours and all that, come from Gabs, and now they're mainstream.
That's it.
Mainstream.
Okay, so where I was going with that was there was controversy down in Melbourne. So there was a young lady at Gabs who had seen this, took a photo of it, sent it to her girlfriend, who had a presence on social media as promoting women and promoting them up, like just feminist. She's a complete feminist, right? Women are great at everything. Women are fantastic. We should not be put down by men and all this sort of stuff, right? So she got onto it and went, all this brewery's thinking about doing and all they care about is the injustice of women in porn sites, right? Or underage people in porn sites, right? And she blew it up to the point that all her followers got involved, then started posting everything on social media, which then got an email back to this little independent brewery, who then felt compelled to remove it.
Almost forced, eh?
Well, they were forced to remove it and apologise for a beer that was called Barely Legal, which is 18.1% alcohol. Mm-hmm. It was tongue-in-cheek humour, right? And again, everything was all okay by liquor licensing and everything else. So at the same venue, another brewery, which I won't name, right, had another beer that was called Hannibal Nectar. So like Hannibal Lecter, obviously we all know who Hannibal Lecter is. And they actually made it 8.9%, because when Hannibal Lecter was arrested or finally caught, he had basically mutilated and killed and eaten 8 females, tortured them.
And the 0.9 would be the one that got away.
Exactly right.
The one that got away.
So what I'm getting with, which really blows my mind, is this one feminist and all her cronies were concerned about basically women's, how they're being portrayed in
the objectivity of it all.
Exactly right, in Pornhub, right? Now, let's stop for a sec. What about now? We've got Instagram, we've got TikTok, we've got Snapchat, and we have OnlyFans. So are all these people doing this because they're now being forced to do it?
Exactly, yeah.
Like, that's what she was carrying on about was, do you understand that this company, Pornhub, are basically getting underage children and underage girls in to do all this stuff and everything else? Well, there's nothing proven. There's been no court cases.
Exactly.
Okay, we all know the sex industry.
It's a weird industry.
Exactly right. So what I get back to is, so are they're not okay with women's rights being violated, but they're okay with publicising a brewery publicising a serial killer,
Who eats women?
not
Kills and
pornography.
eats. Yeah, it's an interesting. That seems strange, doesn't it?
It well and truly strange to me, because the fact is like
That's
this.
clever marketing.
Well, okay, so
That is clever marketing.
there's
to me.
been other beers that have been brought out that are on that borderline,
Yeah.
and nothing's ever been done. Okay, so if she was so highly offended and all her cronies, why pick on a small little brewery instead of going straight to, say,
The industry itself.
Industry itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
you know, is that like a little power trip for them?
It is because it's a reachable audience.
That's what I mean. Now this has been 2 years, all right, since then. I've heard nothing.
Is this where we
Nothing.
insert the cricket sounds?
Well, exactly right. Like, you know, and look, if anyone who knows her or anyone who anyone within her
Knows the
community,
story and
please
understand.
contact us. We'd like to have a sit down with you.
It's an interesting one because it's also the point. Like you go on that point. It was a female who got offended by something that's been illegal in 18.1, but that's also the age for males.
100%. Okay, but it was also too, apparently women have been dragged into the sex trade. That's what they were offended about.
But they're the ones that are getting the most money in the industry.
Well, okay, so
Like
the sex trade is the oldest profession in the world.
right or wrong,
One of them.
right or wrong, whatever
Exactly
your
right.
thoughts are, it's there.
Exactly right.
Can't deny it.
100%. And it's never going to go anywhere.
No, exactly. As long as there's people, we have needs, or people have needs and desires and weird desires at some point. Sometimes
Oh, we
it's
won't go
just-
that deep.
No, we won't go into that. No, that's a whole different conversation again. But no, but people, it's always going to be there, and I don't think you're ever going to get rid of it. But you can't be offended by it. Like, if you're not in it, why are you offended?
Okay, so I think it was about the injustification of women.
But it's got nothing. It's a beer. It's a clever play on words. That's all it is.
Well, actually, it wasn't even a play on words.
No,
It was only the colour.
yeah.
That's what sparked the whole thing. It was the colour of the thing.
It's clever.
I know.
It's really
It had nothing to. If you looked at it at a glance, right, without knowing what the colours meant, you wouldn't even think that had any reference to anything.
Mm.
So again, that young lady, who then seen that and looked at the colours, how does her brain work? Does she
Yeah.
instantly go, oh, that's you're
wired to look for something wrong.
yeah. Like
Attention seeking.
okay, so on top of that, I seen a young lady driving her car the other day, right? And it was like a little mum's soccer car, like one of those little, wherever they are. On the back of it, she actually had a little Pornhub single, and it actually had Fake Taxi on it. And she was in her 30s, and she was just taking the piss.
That's all. It's context, isn't it?
Exactly. You know, like I look at those two scenarios and go, no one's going to get offended by that. And if they are, well, what else are they offended by?
99% of the community are going to giggle.
That's what I wanted to bring up. It's like how many
Even at the
people?
beer. Like, everyone would have just laughed. I remember it, and it was. I just thought it was really clever.
Yeah.
Didn't think anything.
Huh.
There's connotations to it, but you're not naive to it. You just accept it,
Exactly right.
and it's not a bad thing. Like
It's not hurting anyone.
No,
But what they made it out to be was they're promoting underage sex,
I'm pretty sure
and
a local brewery, not to be named, but on the Sunshine Coast, is not doing that.
oh no, no. If
You and I both know them. We've met them.
yeah,
It's not the case, is it?
no, 100% not the case. They are all tongue in cheek, and that's what they're about. You know,
Just a good time.
exactly right. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's interesting. Like it's. Yeah. But how's this plumber get by? Like with that, I wonder what sort of comments he might get from his truck.
well, you know what? Again, we go back to 90%, or actually even maybe 95 or 99,
yeah.
whatever. All right. People are going to look at that and have a bit of a giggle and go, you know,
Well done,
good
mate.
on you.
Well done.
Well done. Actually, if I have any issues with a block drain,
get-
I'm going to call you.
I'm going to remember that plum hub.
Exactly right. See, there you go. See, it just rolls with the
Well,
tongue.
we're just giving him a boost now, aren't we?
There
See?
we go. Actually, hang on. We might have to contact him. He might want royalties or
Yeah,
something.
well, put an ad out there. Yeah.
That's
But
it.
that's true though. You remember? Like that's just clever. Like there's you talk about like you remember that in the beer.
Yeah.
How many other beers like that do you remember? It's only those ones that are
Oh, I remember lots.
slightly controversial.
Oh, okay. So the same brewery brought out basically We're Not Here to Fuck Spiders.
Not Here to Fuck Spiders, great beer.
And they literally, that's
what it was on the can.
That was on the can.
Yeah.
So no one got offended by that.
No, just an Aussie slang.
That's Aussie slang. That's
Just
it.
Aussie. Yeah, it's a funny one. Like I personally wouldn't care what you called a beer because at the end of the day, it's just a beer,
Exactly
and
right.
it's not a, what is it? It's not a totem for something. It's not a call, for anything like that.
No.
It's just a beer.
Exactly right. It's just tongue in cheek.
Yeah, it's just
It's the Aussie way of just, having a bit of a dig here and there, and that's about it. Have a laugh at everything. Because if you don't,
Do you remember what they called the beer after that? Because they pulled it, didn't they?
okay. So yes, they pulled it, but they kept it.
They kept the beer, but they
Right.
pulled it, didn't they?
They only put
And
it.
there's no pun in that at all.
No. They didn't. They actually. So they didn't can it. They left it in kegs.
Yep.
They then ran it through their taps, and just to basically blow a bit of smoke up everyone's ass.
Which is again context and having a fun.
Exactly right. They called it the Beery Beer. The Beery Beer. And I tell you now, I went to the brewery. I had my 300 mils, and it was absolutely fucking delicious.
And it's hard to do with a beer that high.
I know. Because that's all I could drink. It was 300 mil. I couldn't even have a mid-strength beer
And then
after
you
that to drive home.
And then you need your fake taxi home. don't you?
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm glad they kept it though. Like, because you shouldn't put up with that.
No.
It's rubbish that they had to pull it. And
Yeah.
I know they gave in, but I guess they were quite young on the eastern seaboard at that point. So and I know that old saying, any publicity is good publicity, but not necessarily in that
Correct.
industry. The industry is
Correct.
tight as
Correct.
and really tough.
Yeah.
So you sort of just want to toe the line for a little bit until you're in the position where you can probably then afford to do something a little bit risque.
That's it.
But for someone to be offended by something like that, and I said, I don't know this person individually, you don't know
No, I
this
don't
person,
know.
but that is just the wrong way of looking at the world.
I mean,
Like, that is a real negative, glass half empty sort of thing.
what my concern is, instead of just writing them off straight away, maybe she should have contacted them first and then express her concerns to them personally, privately about the situation,
And that's the
like a
problem.
normal human being.
Yeah.
Have a chat, and then
What's a normal human being these days?
well, yeah,
But insane. Like, that's a classic example of that. Because if you go and say, hey, look, I'm offended by this, give the other person a chance
correct.
to say, well, hang on, this is from our standing. We thought about this. We had a whole bunch of people in the business and our business and friends and family. We ran it by them. They all were okay, so we went with it.
They do something every month. What's it called?
That'd be a democracy, actually, wouldn't it?
What's it called? They have that?
Beers and ideas.
That's it, beers and ideas. So that came out of that beers and ideas. Now
Right.
they obviously have I don't know how many people they have.
100 sometimes.
Yeah,
maybe
there you
more.
go.
Maybe more.
So every time they go and do something like that, they have this beers and ideas.
It's an open forum.
Exactly right. So it's not a dictatorship. It's basically a democracy
Yeah, just
because everyone
So-
votes on it.
put your hand in the hat and what comes out, comes out. And
That's
we'll
it.
just talk about it.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So literally, there was enough people, if they went through that process, to go, okay, you know what, this is actually going to be worthwhile. Let's do it.
On a bigger thing, why does that one person feel the need to speak on behalf of everyone about something that most people don't care about until they tell them?
Okay, so I think this is what's wrong with social media, and the way aspect is you have followers.
That's a bold subject, social media.
Followers.
Ooh, followers, that's all you want. It's all about the content.
Okay,
of
so
followers.
you've got the shepherd, and you got the sheep. One sheep seen something, told the shepherd.
Mhm.
The shepherd that got the other sheep went, let's go over to that pen, and let's attack all that grass.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
So I mean, again,
Is
don't
that
get me
like-
wrong,
is
because
this-
we're all followers and shepherds at some point in our
We
life.
all do it, no matter what. Like as you said, like you'd love for someone who knew about that in that world to make contact, have a chat, whatever, have an
Yeah.
opinion. Always open for it. And it's interesting. Why would you be offended by that?
I don't know.
Because I find it weird that if you're offended by someone that's been hurt previously, it's a bit weird because it's got nothing really to do with you. And I get there's personal stories and things like that.
That's
I
right.
understand that.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everyone has their own
That's it.
wagon they're pulling. That's fine. but I don't feel like you can be offended for someone else.
Correct.
People will be offended by that.
I know.
Bring it on, because you can't unless obviously personal experience. It is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
Like, and you got to respect that. And
That's right.
Unless you know about, you don't know. If you don't know about it, there's nothing. You can't offend someone by saying something if you don't know about it.
Correct.
But you're allowed to do things. It's your choice to be offended.
That's right.
But you can't be offended by something I've done if I know nothing about what's going to offend you. That's all.
I know, because you're left in the dark. You don't know why
you would literally
you don't know why you offend this person.
You'd be sitting in the dark room and not move.
I know.
Sounds like a good night. Yeah, really.
Well, maybe.
Bit of heavy metal, dark room, by yourself, chill.
Beers.
Yeah, a few beers. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know why that person got offended. Why?
No.
Just move on. Like, what has that got to do? How does that impact your life?
Well, that's the thing. It obviously triggered something.
Obviously. And if there's a deeper meaning behind it with personal experience, that's fine. But there's no need to bring other people along that journey.
Correct.
Deal with that yourself. Like,
That's right.
bring your closest
Well,
people in,
I honestly,
work around it.
well-
But don't drag everyone. Just don't put crap and shit on a business for trying to be something and trying to do something and promote their product and get out there and whatever they're trying to do, have some fun, make a bit of money.
That's it. But without saying too much, it's like, so it's almost like social media is almost like a cult, because you have your followers,
That's 100% right.
because they get sucked into this platform of literally going, oh yeah, I didn't happen to me, but I know how you feel, and they get dragged along.
And it's great to
Which
share.
is okay. I mean,
It is fantastic to share experience and
if you have
find
experience.
some common ground with people. Great. Other people have different ways of dealing with things. Fantastic. But there's that mind-numbing, just dragging along for the sake of dragging along.
Exactly right. So, anyway, so if you know anyone that was part of any of this or anything else, we know the brewery that's involved in all this. If anyone else would like to sort of know anyone and get
Always.
in contact with us, we're open for a chat, sit down, email, whatever.
Change our mind on anything, doesn't matter.
Well, not even, yeah, just
Whatever.
open up our minds.
Open our minds. Open up your mind.
That's it. Anyway,
Play on songs there.
cheers, guys. Thank you very much, Lee.
Thanks for listening. Until next time. Don't forget to check us out on our socials. Join the guys on site for a chat and ask why not with their special Out in the Wild episodes. Keep an eye on their socials for details and locations,